trying to shove this pencil through my eyeball. I had it up and I was just doing what I was doing, and then all of a sudden I had a knee-jerk reaction and just ran underneath the pencil, tapped me right on the eyeball, and if I hadn't jerked my head back, I'd be missing an eye right now. So yeah. I parked out beyond, well, there's an awning. I parked out beyond it because my, well, you can just see, look at the way my roommate parks. So, oh shit. Hey, a little background music. Usually it cuts it out. Interesting. At any rate, so, it's Monday, and so that means it's time to go to work, which I'm not excited about at all. So, yeah, anyway, spent last night just sort of, relaxing, or trying to relax. I was incredibly, anxious. And I've been studying herbalism, so I've decided I was going to go ahead and make some lavender tea. So yeah, last night I went downstairs to make myself some lavender tea, to sort of calm my nerves, because I was really on edge the whole night. Like, I just couldn't relax, and I've been studying herbalism anyway, so I thought, okay, what a better way to do this than, start with some lavender tea, see if it's any good. And while I was down there brewing it, the name Ted Kaczynski popped into my head, and I thought, well, I've heard of this Ted Kaczynski fellow before. It was the Unabomber, right? And I'd never done any research on him, and I didn't know who he was. I had heard of people referring to him as, like, some kind of strange cult leader kind of thing, or is it people like, like a Charles Manson kind of thing, but in the context of, like, anarcho-primitivism. Now, I have to say that I did subscribe to the concept of anarcho-primitivism. I really did. And I'll show you a picture of myself from that time period. So, so a big part of that was this, thing where I really wanted to transition. I mean, I know now that I was struggling against it. And I mean, I kind of knew then, too, that I was struggling against my transness. But I saw it as an opportunity to escape, because if there was a world that it was impossible to do so, then I wouldn't have any option to transition, so I wouldn't do it. Well, lo and behold, interestingly enough, so I think it was in the 50s, Ted Kaczynski was going to transition, and at some point in time he decided that at the office, when he was going to get his letter of recommendation from the psychologist, I believe, I should really start referring to Ted Kaczynski with they, them pronouns, regardless of the crimes. I think that doesn't, I don't know, should I? That's a really good question. It's not so much about the crime, is it, though? I mean, so somebody's a criminal, right, that doesn't change their gender. So, like, this, what is it, Yaniv, I think they call her. They say that she's like this, being referred to as like this pedophile person from up in Canada somewhere, who's apparently preying on children. Now, I have to be careful with what I say. because I'm trying to be compassionate here. Now, I think this person needs help. I think this person seriously needs to be separated from the greater parts of society and needs some serious assistance. But that does not invalidate her gender. Okay, so I think personally that when we use the tactics of the people that are keeping us down to keep each other down, or to attack other people that we don't like or don't identify with, we are keeping our community. We are, as a whole, keeping our community down. We're saying, okay, so this tactic is acceptable. So much like when somebody doesn't like me at work, they'll call me he. Look what he did. Oh, that guy did this. Oh, that man did such. And when they like me, they respect my gender pronouns. I think that is entirely unacceptable. I think that we should respect people's gender regardless of whether we like them, and we should attack their arguments or their actions and not their gender. This is sort of like, what do they call that, an ad hominem attack? So what would be, somebody tell me, what would this be, attacking somebody's gender instead of what they're about? At any rate, so as I was learning about this Ted Kaczynski fellow, I went ahead and listened to an audio book reading of his manifesto. Oh, if I can't remember exactly what it's called, Industrial Society and Its Future, I think. And I can't say that I agree 100% with everything that he said, but definitely a brilliant individual. Definitely, I mean, this was written almost 30 years ago, and it sounds like somebody making a social commentary right now. In fact, a lot of it reminds me of a more academic version of some of the things that Varg Vikernes was saying on his channel. Now, mind you, I was a follower of Varg Vikernes. I absolutely loved him. I mean, I can't say that I don't still have a certain level of affection for the man. As a young person, I was into the black metal scene. In fact, myself and a few other individuals were the black metal scene in this area. And so Varg Vikernes was kind of like this, Count Grishnak, that was like a sort of strange hero of mine. So, like, I remember celebrating with one of my bandmates when he got out of prison. And, so I followed into that whole, what does he call, it's not anarcho-primitivism, but it's his own version of, like, primitive lifestyle, European paganism kind of thing. And yeah, I followed into that whole thing. I absolutely, I guess, bought it hook, line, and sinker. I mean, because I was raised pagan, right? I lived off of the grid for a vast majority of my childhood. So, a lot of this stuff just made sense to me. It was, stuff that I had already been exposed to. But yeah, so I guess what I have to say about all that is this sort of, I'm just going to wrap this up, sort of in conclusion, my mindset is that these individuals are both Varg Vikernes and Monsieur Kaczynski, are very intelligent people, but, let's see, how do I put this? Well, give me just a second. I'm running out of space on my phone. The sun's in my face, but hey, just deleting that one video, or maybe two, accidentally. I have 20 extra minutes now. Woohoo! Not gonna take that long. So yes, my thoughts on Kaczynski and Vikernes. Well, So I really identify with the mentality of both of these individuals. I understand where they're coming from. I mean, I empathize with them. I guess identify is a little strong, isn't it? I empathize with both of their mentalities. And I understand why they feel the way they do. But my true feelings on the matter are that we're kind of all in this boat together. There's not really... I mean, you want to say you can step outside of society and go live out in the woods, and I would love to do that, right? I mean, just sort of, and it's not just like, oh no, if I go out into society, I won't have my hormones. I mean, fuck it. I also won't have a whole host of other problems. That's not the issue. The issue is that technological society will come and dominate you regardless. It doesn't matter. Whoever has the greatest technology is going to dominate. And I mean, again, this is nothing that goes against what they're saying, but so the thing is that it's too late for that. It's far too late. We're all in the same boat. If a nuclear incident happens, it's going to fuck all of us up. If the world gets hit by an asteroid, it's going to fuck all of us up. The only hope that I have is that we can... I mean, it sounds like something from like a Terence McKenna quote or something, but that we can pull together and create a loving, compassionate, spacefaring society. Now, I don't necessarily think that that's going to happen like right now or off, in the next 100 years or so, but fuck, I don't know. Yeah, but the only thing that we can do is to work together. And so all of the suffering and all of the pain can have been worth something. Otherwise, all the suffering and pain that we've gotten to get here or to get anywhere will have been for nothing. It'll just be a waste. And to be honest, since taking steps towards my transition and living my authentic self, not having to fight my internal feelings, I've adapted a lot more to society and the way society functions, because I've had to, right, to do what it is that I need to do, and I don't hate it. There's a part of me that's screaming out and says, no, what the fuck are you doing? Stop this, go run out into the woods. And let me be perfectly clear, I probably would have been like, your Jensen types, or probably a lot closer to Kaczynski in terms of like, just living out in the middle of nowhere and writing manifestos and occasionally getting so angry that I just want to destroy stuff, and feeling like that was my position, because a lot of these anarcho-primitivist people really do. They want to destroy technological society. And I understand why. I mean, again, I'm not a follower currently, but I was a follower of a bunch of that mentality, and those kind of thought processes, and so I mean, I understand why you would want to blow up dams and burn bridges and shit like that, but the fact of the matter is that we're all in this together. You can't separate yourself. You may think that you can separate yourself, but you can't. You cannot separate yourself from society at large. We are all in this together. We are all the children of Gaia, or whatever you want to call it, this great planet, this Mother Earth. Look at that. Look at how beautiful that is. That's a Texas Hill Country. Anyway, we're all on this fucking shithole rock together, floating through space at this like incredible speed. It's incredibly dangerous, and if we all work together to alleviate the suffering of each other and other creatures and other forms of life, maybe we can make it into something greater than where we are now. Maybe we can Be happy. Oh, did you ever stop to consider that being happy might be more important than your strange conceptions of what your idea of freedom might be? Granted, I understand that sounds like kind of, yeah, I kind of cringed a little bit on the inside even saying that, so I get it. But yeah, that's, you know, so I participate in society now. I am an activist towards things that I believe society needs to hear and do. And I can only do my part, and I don't think it's right to go shoving your opinions up everybody's asshole all the time. But yeah, so I'm that transgender, vegan, anti-fascist bitch. Whatever. I've had friends from all over the political spectrum, of all sorts of different walks of life, and I've tried to understand and empathize with all of it. And the truth of the matter is that, the concept of reducing suffering for ourselves and for the people around us is worth a lot more to me than whether or not I have the next neat gadget. I say that, but I do have a Nintendo Switch, and I have a car that's not ancient, and I just bought a new cell phone. It's a cheap one, but that's not the point. And all of that adds to the destruction of the environment, and that's fucking horrible. So, I've got mixed feelings about a lot of this, but, there's you have to pick your battles and do the most amount of good that you possibly can, rather than, if you're gonna do a shitload of damage or a slightly less shitload of damage, depending on which action you take, and non-action does more damage than a certain action does, then I guess that's my convoluted way of trying to justify the fact that I have a new phone. Okay, so, yeah, so I'm gonna participate in this society that sometimes brings me a lot of pain and suffering, and that I know is built on slavery and the destruction of the natural environment, because I have to do what I can do with what I have available to me, and I myself cannot start a revolution. I have a few guns and a few swords and axes and shit, and I live in the evil empire, with the largest and most well-trained army the world has ever seen. Yeah, I don't think one trans woman against the United States Army is going to start a revolution. So, I have to do the best that I can do. I have to, I think education through, compassion and action rather than words is probably the best way to do these things. But, hey, what do I know? Anyway, I think I've gone on long enough, really. I'm just going on and on about shit that it's important to me, right? So, and it's stuff that I think about a lot, because, I don't know, my heart bleeds for the natural environment and for my fellow proletarians, but, I can't afford to think about this all the time. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna drop it for now and leave this as it is. At any rate, I really don't care if you like or subscribe or click that little bell icon, wherever the fuck it is. I don't really care. I'm not doing this for you, any of you. I'm doing this for me. So, I guess, fuck off.